And hello again, and welcome to the next video about my Guzzi. Now, on the last video we spent a lot of time deanodizing these clamps that are part of the clip-ons, and that went quite well. And we left it where I'd marked out one of these bars to be drilled to take the wiring of the Moto Guzzi switches. And since then I've just done that, just drilled it there and there. And one observant viewer said, look, it'd be a good idea if you put a grommet in here to protect the wires as they go through the tube, because they can fret and eventually the sleeving will wear through and you've got all kinds of problems. And that's a good point. The slight problem is that it means making these holes even bigger. The wire is 3mm, this is 4mm, so it'll go through okay. What I don't want to do is make it sort of 10mm or something to get a grommet in there. So instead, what I'm going to do first of all is to clean up the edges of any burrs that are in these holes with my little needle file. I've got a few here, different styles, different shapes. I think they're called rat's tail files actually. So I've just been doing that, and now it feels pretty good. No great sharp edges. But he's quite right in that you need to do something to try and protect the wires as they pass through these holes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use shrink wrap, sort of 2 or 3 layers here and here to help protect it, and also to make sure it's a nice snug fit through the holes so it can't rattle around and fret, and hopefully keeps the sleeves nice and undamaged by the vibrations of the bike. And so that's actually a good point, but as I say, I'm going to go with sort of 2 or 3 layers of shrink wrap, I think, for that. And now with those holes drilled and smoothed off, I've now to play around and try and get the wire in this end and out this end. That's always good fun. I actually found that by wrapping some tape around the end of the wires and then using a bent paper clip to try and hook it out, that seemed to work quite well. But I won't bother filming that because it might take me half an hour faffing about to do it. Okay, I'm back now, and that wasn't too difficult. Actually, a bit easier than I thought it would be. And what I did was I passed the wires through the tube, and to hook it out, I just used a bent paper clip. Not sure if you can see that, but pretty damn simple, and it worked quite well. So, pretty pleased with that. So now I can unbolt this thing and get it on the bars. And there it is, all finished. Not much of a problem. In fact, it took me longer to get the damn grip on the bars. It really does fight you to try and get that damn thing on. I actually used hot water just to soften up the grip to get it on there, otherwise I'll be here all bloody day. Anyway, that one's done now. As I said last time, I do intend to fit another switch on this side at some point so I can use indicators on the bike, because right now these 3 switches operate the horn, the lights, on off, high beam, low beam, and start and stop. So I do need some more switches. That said, these things aren't cheap. They're about £100, £110 maybe. So I didn't buy any more just in case I didn't end up using indicators. But I think with the bike, if you have no mirrors and no indicators, it can get a bit hairy out there, particularly on the motorway. I've got one bike like that and it's horrible on the motorway. It's very dangerous. So yeah, if I had indicators, I don't mind having no mirrors and vice versa, but having none is a real problem, I think. So I've learnt my lesson, and this bike's getting indicators. So yeah, that's great, that's done now, and now that at least can go on the bike. And now we're back at the bike, and I've now got to remove all this and the top yoke, to remove these old clip-ons and put the new ones in place. But before I start doing that, I better take the tank off just to make sure I don't damage it in any way. So let's just lift it off. It's actually not on securely yet, it's just resting. There we go, we'll get that out of the way, keep it safe. And so with the tank out of the way and safe and sound, I can now make a start. Now the first thing I've got to do is remove this cover off the stem nut. And it was an interference fit, it's very tight, and it's not going to be easy to remove, which I was expecting. So therefore it's going to need a bit of heat. Be very careful now, I don't want to melt anything I shouldn't. Just want to heat that up a little bit. Let's say it's an interference fit, it's a very tight fit, but hopefully a bit of heat on there, and I should be able to tap it off. But we'll see. I'll just do that for about a minute or so, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so let's see, we'll just tap it off. Yeah, that's no problem, it's coming off, thank God. I was a bit worried about that actually, I thought it might find me. Look, there it goes. Okay, and there it is. Actually, I'm quite happy about that because I thought this cover may be quite difficult to remove. But luckily a bit of heat on it and it came off without too many problems. And now the yoke's almost off. I've been very slow and careful with it, not been battering it, just been quite gentle with a rubber hammer. So now what I'm going to do is put this old towel here just to protect the chrome of the headlamp. So I'm going to lift it off and go forward, because the ignition switch is all wired in at the moment. I don't want to sort of pull those wires and upset anything, so just going to be careful. So here we go then, just be very slow. Here we go, just gently move it forward a wee bit. That's all it needs, just so I can get these things off, these old things off here. There we go, so there's one off, thank God. I can go in the shed. This one here, also go off. Okay, so that's them off. Now I'll go and get the new ones and get them on the bike. And now we've got the clip-ons and the hand controls back in place. Everything's tightened up, and so that's pretty much done now. However, you might have noticed that I've not yet fitted this rather nice Tomaselli throttle housing. And the one reason for that is because the old grip has no hole in it, so it won't go all the way in. But that's not a great problem, I could soon cut that out if need be. But there's a second reason, and that's because I want to change the whole throttle cable arrangement on this bike from a 1:2 system, which is what it's got now, to a double cable throttle system. That means I need to change this to a throttle with 2 cables rather than 1. And the reason for that is because Guzzi have a slightly weird way of doing things. They have a 2-to-1 system whereby down on the frame, under the tank, this little gizmo which breaks the cable into 2 and then sends 2 cables to the carbs. I don't like that. I think it adds complexity, adds friction to the whole affair, so I want to get rid of it. And to do that, I've got to buy a different throttle which has 2 cables rather than 1. So a bit expensive actually to change. I mean, these Tomaselli throttles are 60, 70, 80 pounds, something like that. But as I say, I've been wanting to do that for quite a while, so that's one reason why I've not finished doing all the cabling for the carbs, because I knew I was going to change it. So anyway, that'll have to wait another day. I may actually pick one up if I go to Stafford Classic Bike Show in April, but we'll see. I might just order it, I don't know. Anyway, that's that. Next then, oh yes, before I forget, this little cover we made to cover the stem top nut. Don't really like it, it's a bit too big and bulky. It wasn't quite what I wanted when I first sort of made it. So I think what I might do is just try and machine it down a wee bit more, make it a bit slimmer maybe. You see it's quite thick walled. Just to, I don't know, make it a bit more interesting. Anyway, we'll see. So that'll stay off for the time being. And next we've got some news about a new seat unit that's on its way. And so, although my dog here, Barney's not too impressed, a big parcel's just turned up, thank God. And I must thank Bill, Newton Dundee, for watching my last video about my Guzzi, where I mentioned that I wasn't too happy with my seat unit. I was looking for something else. I wasn't quite sure what, but I needed a new seat. And he said, hang on a minute, I've got just the thing. He's got a Guzzi like mine, and he had a one-off tank and seat unit made by John Williams at a tank shop up in Dumfries some time ago. And like me, and like most of you guys who build custom bikes, he sort of evolved his ideas and changed his mind, and in the end, he didn't use the seat unit. So he sent me some photographs of that and said, yeah, that looks great, I'll buy it. And it's just turned up now, so let's open it up. Barney might want to chew up some of this stuff, I don't know. And hopefully it arrives in one piece, because it's quite a delicate aluminium seat. Here it is, been well wrapped, so thank you, Bill, for that. He's also sent me, this is an aluminium inner rear mud guard. I actually don't need this because I've got one already in stainless steel, but it might be handy. So there's a piece there that goes in front of the rear wheel, so we'll put that away. Don't need that at the moment, but you never know, I might use it again at some point. So we'll wrap him up, and then we'll look at the main part that I'm looking for here, which is this. Right, have a good sniff, aren't you, laddie? And I must thank him for wrapping it up so well. There's lots not of padding here. Hopefully it's arrived in one piece, because the couriers are often not too careful about these sort of things. So, not sure that's in focus. Let me just have a look. Yeah, you can see all that. Barney's wondering what the hell's going on, aren't you, laddie? Don't worry, it's okay. So, let's have a look. I'm hoping this should be just the thing that I need. Barney's not too sure, you laddie, but I think we can use this. Nice sheet, you can have that, can't you, I think? He likes chewing up things. So let's carefully unwrap it. I think Barney thinks there might be some food in here, but no, that does not. And here we go. What's that here, Barney? And it also comes complete with a seat base that I imagine Bill would have made himself or added himself, and that's great because it saves me from having to make it. This now. As I say, I mean, I would never have found this thing, or he would have never found me if it wasn't for YouTube, so the wonders of the internet. Is it funny? It's a beautiful aluminium seat unit, as I say, made by John Williams, chap who lives in the middle of nowhere, up near Dumfries in Scotland. I do know him actually, I've been there a few times where he's made me a couple of tanks in the past. In fact, 3 I think, maybe 3, but they were for Harleys, and that was a long time ago. I'm not sure he's still as busy as he was, but he used to be very busy. He made 1 tank a day in a little shed by his cottage. Anyway, let's have a look. He does what he's doing now, he's a very clever chap. Englishman, he used to work for Harris, I think, back in the day. He did tell me once that he had made the fiberglass bodywork for a bike I used to own, a very rare Laverna. But anyway, let's get this off here. Let's talk action, and there it is. Beautiful thing, isn't it? Look at that, Barney. Isn't that nice? What is it here? What could it be? As I say, it's got this seat base which you can take off and get upholstered at some point. Bolted in. And he also, I'm not sure if he did it, Bill, or it was done by John Williams, but he's also fiberglassed the inside. He sort of lined it with fiberglass, and the reason for that was because although the aluminium is quite strong as it is, it's not massively strong, if you like. It's quite easy to dent it, it's quite easy to crack it in use, so he's lined the inside with quite thick fiberglass, which is great. It means it's much stronger. It also means that when it comes to me adding the mounts for, say, the rear lamp and so on, and the rear plate, it should be quite easy because I've just got a fiberglass in a little mount in here which can project down. Yes, that's pretty damn good, hey Barney? What's in that? Is that nice? Yeah, look at that. Now this is beautifully polished of course, but as was my tank, because it was aluminium as well, but I got so full of faffing about with aluminium, bare aluminium, it's just a nightmare to keep clean and polished. So like the tank, this is going to get sprayed and painted up. And in fact, as I mentioned in the last video, I'm not too happy with the paint job I've got on the tank at the moment, because I did that. It's not bad, it's just not as good as it could be. And the design is very simple, it's just red, big block of red there. So I think when I get this painted to match, I'm going to get the whole bike repainted once I find out what kind of mudguard I'm going to use, eh lad? And we can get the whole thing done in a much more complicated and more interesting way. But in the meantime, lad, we can drink some more tea, you can have a treat, and I can go back outside now, in the back of the house here, and we'll try this on the bike. And here we are back at the bike, and there's my original aluminium seat unit that I made for the bike. It's not bad, but it's not quite right, I don't think, as I mentioned before. So let's get rid of that for the time being. I'll put it over here, out of harm's way. And so, out with the old, and in with the new. Now, obviously I've got no mounts yet, but at the front here it should sit pretty much as it would do once those mounts are in place. At the back it's going to be too low, so right now it's sitting on the indicators, which makes it too low. It should be about, I would say about 10 mil higher than that, which would mean this line is parallel with the frame rails. So let me just raise up a little bit, something like that. That's how it should be. And I can't tell how it looks from where you are, but from where I am it looks an awful lot better, a lot more elegant, pretty much what I wanted from the get-go. Now I will still have a problem with the clearance above the tyre, but that can be resolved because I'm going to fit longer rear shocks. These are 13 inches, I'm going to go for 14 or even 14.5 inches, about 360, 365 millimeters. Those shocks, as I mentioned before a few days ago, will be probably either Nitron or possibly even Hagon. They're very good value for money actually, but I'm not sure yet, I'm not sure. So yeah, overall then, I'm really pleased with this seat unit. It is a pity actually that the bike is crammed into a small space, and I can't sort of show you the bike from some distance away. It's just impossible. There's no space in here at all. But yeah, overall I'm really pleased with it, and I must say thank you once again to Bill up in Dundee for letting me have this thing. And not only did he have it, it meant I didn't have to wait, God, I don't know how long, but 6 months, 9 months, a year for John Williams at the tank shop to make me something like this, because that's his lead times these days. So yeah, really pleased with it. And now I guess the next step is for me to sort out the mounts underneath. The fact it's been fiberglass makes my life a lot easier, because it means I can fiberglass in the mount for the front and the mount for the back. I've also got these bolts here which bolt in the seat base itself, and yeah, that'll come in handy because I could use those to take off the mounts for the back at least. So yeah, really happy with that, and we'll just put it back on there so I don't damage it. I'd say it's sitting a little bit wrong at the moment. It needs to be a bit higher, but yes, something like that, in terms of upholstery, one issue, or not really a problem really, but one issue with the Guzzis like mine, the Tonti frame, the frame rails, the seat rails rather, are really low compared to the foot pegs. So if you just had a sort of quite thin seat here, your legs are going to be bent right back and it'd be really uncomfortable. So if you look at a standard Guzzi like mine, or like a Le Mans 1, Le Mans 2, the seats are actually about this thick. They go up like this and go up the back of the tank, because they have to be so thick to give you that sort of clearance for your legs. So for me, I think this will have to be quite thick. It won't be just a couple of millimetres of foam. It's going to have to be at least, I would say, what, 40 millimetres, 50 millimetres, something like that, and quite firm, so it's not too uncomfortable to ride. But yeah, overall then, really happy with this. Again, big thank you to Bill. And I was actually quite concerned that when it arrived it might be dented or something like that, because we know the couriers aren't that careful, but he packed it up really well. You saw that before. It was wrapped in miles and miles of bubble wrap and whatnot, so it's arrived safe and sound. That's great. The dog wasn't too impressed, of course, but he'll get a treat soon, so he's quite happy. So yeah, great stuff. So I think that's the end of this video, because it's getting to be quite long now. And next time, hopefully, we can see the bike with the fairing and with most of the electrics done, because that's what we'll be working on next. But right now, I think it's time I had a cup of tea. So thanks for watching, and cheers.